All right, today we're going to peek under the hood of probably the most incredible machine you'll ever encounter. I'm talking about a machine that runs 24/7, fixes itself on the fly, and, get this, is powered by whatever you had for lunch. Yep, we're talking about a living organism, and we are about to figure out what makes it tick.
I mean, have you ever really stopped and thought about it? How your body just runs on autopilot. You breathe without even thinking about it. You eat a sandwich, and your body just knows what to do. It's wild, right? It all just seems to happen. But believe me, behind the scenes, there's an absolutely staggering amount of work going on.
The best way to get your head around it is to imagine a living being as this super high-tech, totally self-sustaining factory. A factory that is working tirelessly, non-stop from the second it comes online, just to keep everything in perfect working order. And the best part? Today, you've got an all-access pass for the grand tour.
Okay, so here's our game plan for the tour. First, we'll check out the factory that never sleeps to get the lay of the land. Then we're heading to the operations floor to see how fuel, power, and delivery works. After that, a very important stop at waste management, or taking out the trash. Then we'll meet the ultimate factory manager, and finally, we'll see how it all comes together in a perfectly balanced system.
All right, first up, the factory that never sleeps. Before we dive into all the cool machinery, we've got to grasp one core idea. This is a machine that needs constant, active maintenance just to stay running. It never, ever stops.
So, if you were going to build a successful factory from scratch, what would you need? Well, for starters, you'd need a way to get raw materials in, right? Then you'd need a power source to run everything. A delivery network is a must-have to move things around. You definitely need a system for waste disposal, otherwise things get messy fast. And, of course, a central controller to make sure it all runs smoothly. And here's the cool part. These 5 core needs, they're the exact blueprint for how any living thing stays alive.
Okay, let's head on down to the operations floor. This is where the real action happens. We're going to see how this factory handles its fuel, its power, and its delivery systems.
Everything, and I mean everything, kicks off right here at what we'll call the factory's loading dock. In biology, we call this nutrition. It's pretty straightforward, right? It's the process of bringing in all those raw materials, which for us is just food, from the outside world. Simple as that. Because without a steady supply of materials, those assembly lines would just grind to a halt.
Okay, so we've got our raw materials. That's great, but they're kind of useless without some power to do something with them. And that's where the factory's power plant comes into play. Respiration. This is this incredible chemical reaction that breaks down those materials to unlock and release all the energy packed inside, turning it into a form the factory can actually, use.
So you see this simple, really elegant flow happening. We take in materials through nutrition. We generate power from them through respiration, but all that power doesn't do any good if it's just sitting in the power plant. You've got to get it to the workstations, where the magic happens.
And that brings us to the next crucial piece of the puzzle, the transport system. Just picture this massive, complex superhighway of conveyor belts, pipelines, maybe some little delivery drones whizzing around. This system is responsible for moving everything, energy, building blocks, even important messages, to every single corner of the factory. It makes sure no department is ever left in the dark or waiting on a shipment.
All right, so the factory's humming along, making stuff, using energy, but all that production creates byproducts. Let's be real, it creates trash, and any successful factory has to have a solid plan for taking it out.
This brings us to a super important, even if it's not the most glamorous department, waste disposal, or as we call it, excretion. This is the system that's constantly collecting all the harmful, toxic gunk that gets generated during production and then safely getting rid of it. Seriously, without an efficient cleanup crew, the whole factory would pretty quickly get poisoned by its own garbage.
This quote really sums it up perfectly. An efficient factory isn't just about what it makes, it's also about what it throws away. That really hits the nail on the head. The health of the entire operation really depends on striking that perfect balance.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got materials coming in, power being made, things being delivered, and waste going out. But how is all of this coordinated? Who's pulling the strings? Well, let's head upstairs to the control room and meet the factory manager.
I mean, who's in charge of all this? Who's making sure the power plant doesn't overheat? Or who places the order for more raw materials when supplies are running low? Who makes sure that the internal environment inside the factory stays perfectly stable, no matter what kind of chaos is happening just outside the walls? Well, the manager's name is homeostasis, and this isn't some single person sitting at a desk. It's a super sophisticated, totally automatic control system. It's constantly monitoring everything and making thousands of tiny little adjustments to maintain a perfect, stable internal balance. Honestly, it's the unsung hero that keeps the whole factory running like a finely tuned watch.
And this is so cool because it shows homeostasis in action, right? Look at this. If the factory starts to overheat, what happens? The cooling systems automatically kick in. For us, that's sweating. If the fuel supply is getting low, it doesn't panic. It just taps into the stored fuel reserves. Too much waste product building up? No problem. It just signals the disposal system to speed things up. It's just a brilliant, self-regulating system.
And that brings us to our final stop on the tour. And maybe the most important point of the whole day is this. None of these departments works in a silo. It's all one, perfectly balanced, completely interconnected system.
You can just see how it all fits together like a perfect puzzle. Nutrition provides the fuel. Respiration uses that fuel to create the power. Transport delivers that power and everything else. Excretion gets rid of the waste from all those processes. And hovering over it all, you've got homeostasis, managing every single interaction to maintain that perfect, delicate balance.
And this right here is the main takeaway, the thing to remember. You absolutely cannot have one without the others. If the loading dock shuts down, the power plant starves. It's that simple. If the waste disposal system fails, the whole factory becomes toxic. This interdependence, it's the absolute key to keeping this living machine online.
So that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Your body is this incredible, tireless factory. And now that you know a little more about how it works, from the fuel you give it to the waste it needs to clear out, you have the power to help it run better. So my question to you is, what's one thing you can do today, just one small adjustment, to help your own factory thrive?